welcome to Magathea Builder Worlds. This is going to be a Judge Dredd build. Yes, yeah, I know. Now, if you're a long-time watcher of this channel, and I've certainly been watching for the last couple of years or so, you will have heard me banging on about Judge Dredd miniatures games and Judge Dredd in general, and me threatening to make Judge Dredd scenery. Well, today is the day, people. Today actually is going to happen. I'm actually going to start on a Judge Dredd project. Mostly because early last year, early 2023, because it's January 2024 now, yeah. Early 2023, on one of my videos, I glibly made a comment about other people painting figures for me. If anybody fancies painting figures for me, then please get in touch. 3 guys did, of which I got a bunch of Star Wars figures painted, which is really cool. Thanks, fellas, you know who you are. One of the gentlemen who painted for me actually ended up turning out to paint various things by commission, or on commission, and I commissioned him to paint a load of my Judge Dredd figures, some of which are in these pictures, including this Judge on a Lawmaster, call him Dredd if you like, and various other bits and pieces. I've painted myself a bunch of vehicles already, and the whole point is now I have a growing collection of painted Dredd figures. Certainly got enough to be playing games with. I now have no excuse for not making Judge Dredd scenery, so that is what I'm going to do. Yes, it is. Here is more figures. So, and in that case, this is the first Judge Dredd and first project in 2024, happening in my temporary workspace. If you watch my end of year review, you'll know that I'm back in a workspace that was a workshop for me at one point and then became the work office, and the workspace was over there. Well, the workspace over there has been knocked down, is being rebuilt into a proper outside room, and I'm going to be a few weeks before that's ready to move it all back into. It's going to be really cool. My office at one end, workshop at the other end. It's going to be really, really neat. In the meantime, I'm having to put up with being rather cramped into this tiny little space with all kinds of stuff all over me. And the original plan was to make this outdoor room, cabin, into my workshop, and I was going to get it all sorted and that kind of thing, and then we decided to get rid of this one and put a new office in here, so I stopped. So it's nowhere near as sorted as it could have been, hence why I've got bits of kind of my wife Heidi's stuff all around me as well. She's all be stacked up nice and neat, so every now and then this dressmaker's dummy might rock and roll around while the chair hits it. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, making Dredd scenery. There has been a couple of issues with me wanting to make Dredd scenery. Actually, I mean, let's just talk Judge Dredd for a moment, if you will. If you'll indulge me. If you won't, tough shit. I'm going to talk to you about Judge Dredd anyway, and my relationship with Judge Dredd. I've been into Judge Dredd. I've enjoyed Judge Dredd since the mid-1980s. I first encountered Judge Dredd. Certainly 40 years ago, reading the odd comic here and there, and then got into 2000 AD and I read Dredd and Strontium Dog and Rogue Trooper and Halo Jones and ABC Warriors and Nemesis. I freaking loved 2000 AD. It was really, really cool. And Dredd, of course, was right up there. In the around about 1987, Games Workshop produced a number of 2000 AD related games. There was a Rogue Trooper board game, which was really cool, and they also made Judge Dredd, the role-playing game, which was great fun, superb. You got to be a judge. It was a good role-playing game. Actually, it's a really, really good role-playing game. I really liked it. It was made for fans of the comics. You really needed to know to really kind of like play Dredd, be a judge and go out, arrest people, book people, kind of like send them to the Ice of Cubes. I loved it. And Workshop did a range of miniatures at that point that went with them, some of which I still have kicking around. There's the odd model of Chopper, I think, on a Sky surfboard, but I haven't got much left of them. I didn't buy many of those. I was too busy buying dwarfs for Warhammer Fantasy Battle 3 and 4. So I loved all that. That was very, very cool. And then Dredd kind of like went away from a miniatures point of view. Wargames Foundry were the next people who kind of like jumped in on the 2000 AD kind of like figure range, although they don't make theirs anymore. And I subsequently have got a bunch of Foundry Dredd figures in various states of paint and not paint, and they're really nice models. They were, you know, there wasn't really anything to do with them. I don't really think there was a gaming system at that point. I think Foundry were just making cool models, and they were cool models. Then, of course, in the 90s, the late 90s, the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd film came out, of which I am a fan. Right? Okay. If you're not a fan, if you know Dredd, and you've seen Judge Dredd, that's the Sylvester Stallone film from, no, I think it's about 1999, and then Dredd with Carl Urban in 2012. There are people who like one or the other. You know, most Dredd purists really love the Carl Urban one, and they're not such big fans of Stallone, for a number of mostly obvious reasons. I watched it the other day, actually. I watched Judge Dredd and then Dredd back to back, because the Stallone film does have some redeeming qualities. I genuinely believe that. Yeah, he took his helmet off. Dredd doesn't take his helmet off. I'm not now an expert on Dredd. I haven't been totally up to date. I haven't read all the Dredd strips since the 1980s, but certainly in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, Dredd never took his helmet off. There were only about 2, maybe 3 occasions in the comic strip where his helmet came off. One occasion, his helmet came off because he went into the face-off machine. I knew there was a fucking face-off machine. He had a face change so he could go after a baddie. One time, his helmet came off because he was really badly wounded and his whole face got bandaged up, so he couldn't see his face anyway. Although later in that strip, he then sat there with his face bandaged up and his helmet on. So, yeah, it was a big deal, Dredd taking his helmet off. But I didn't care in Judge Dredd, because we knew it was Stallone. He had, Stallone's voice, which was wrong, and his chin shape was the wrong shape. And so it didn't matter that he took his helmet off as far as I was concerned, because it was Sylvester Stallone. The other major problems with that movie was the fact, actually, from my point of view, is they took loads of some of the best stories and characters from the Judge Dredd comics and stuck them all together in one film, which pretty much said, hey, we're only going to do this once. So, they killed off pretty much every major chief judge all in the same movie. Rico was in it, his brother, who's a great story in his own right. Fergie, the Rob, whatever his name is, with the comic relief, it was completely changed character anyway. The Angel Gang were in it. The Hammerstein and ABC Warrior was in it. It was a bit of a mess of a film, especially as they kind of like cut it because bits of it were too shocking to show, apparently. So that was all. Yeah, there were the downsides of that movie. Oh, that and the uniform. Although I quite like the bike. Then there were little downsides to that movie, which as a fan really irked me even more. The fact that it always appeared to be raining in Mega City 1, which if you know the comics, it really doesn't, because the people in Mega City 1 vote for the weather, and it only ever rains, the rain gets used at night to clear the streets, and that's fine. And there were characters smoking on streets of Mega City 1, which doesn't happen either, because they go to the smokatorium for that. There were little things that irked, but what I did love about that movie was they got the comic book feel right. And the opening sequence is when Fergie comes, gets off the prison transport and is in a hover cab and he flies through the city. It looks like the comic, which is cool. And it's a really unique kind of take on that far future or near future kind of way of living. I really love it. Lots of the civilians and the vehicles look right, and the actual background stuff was pretty cool. I liked the law giver of Dredd's pistol. I quite like the law master as well. So there were lots of redeeming features of that. Then, of course, you skip on to 2012, and the Carl Urban film it's great in many ways. It's absolutely brilliant. You certainly get the brutalness, the harshness of the judges. You get how hard they are. There are loads of little kind of nods, tips of the hat to Dredd fans. There's graffiti there that Dredd fans will pick out and various other bits and pieces. Although there's a downside to that movie as well, because Mega City 1, which really is a character in its own right in the stories, wasn't developed at all, nor was the block. Mega City 1 blocks are really funky shapes. They're weird, kind of architecturally speaking. They look cool in a comic, and they look good on the screen. In the Dredd film in 2012, it looked like they'd all been made by the people who designed Harlow and Basildon and other crappy 1960s new towns. They just got taller. So I wasn't a big fan of that. I didn't like the Lawmasters, because they were just souped up motorbikes, which looks a bit crap. And there was very little in the way of Mega City 2000 AD vehicles. I mean, the bad guys at the start are in a VW fucking T4, for God's sake, or whatever. You know, that was a bit rubbish. But on the whole, great, brutal movie. Really cool. Figure game wise, Warlord Games have had a couple of stabs at Judge Dredd games. There's this one, which was Mongoose, and then currently there's this one. And there are nice figure ranges to go with both of those. And I've got figures from both games. It's pretty cool. But they've sat around, of course, in the Lem Mountain and all the rest of it. The new system, the new version of the game from Warlord Games, I really like the system. It's also the system they use in Strontium Dog, and I think they use a similar system in the Slain game as well. I don't know if they've got it in the new ABC Warriors, because I haven't looked at that at all. But, it's a pretty good game that kind of transfers, small scale, all the rest of it. I do have a few issues with the figures in the latest version. They're all resin and some of them are a bit crap. I do have a problem with some companies and the crap resin plastic kind of figures they use. They're not great materials. It's like Mantic Games and their Terrain Crate stuff, of which I just happen to have some here. Some of the plastic that the Terrain Crate uses is excellent. Hard plastic. Here's a set of Terrain Crate plastic doors. Good, solid, hard plastic. Nice. This is a table Terrain Crate, and it's just this soppy, crappy, weird-ass plastic that bends and gets too heavy, and it's just a bit near. And if you have to have videos on your own YouTube channel to tell you how to correct that plastic and the fact you need to drop it in the boiling water and then straighten it out, and it tells you you're using crappy plastic in the first place. And it's a bit like the Warlord figures. They're not really great. I mean, I can't complain too much because I didn't paint them. Ook painted them for me. Thanks, buddy. But compared to painting a metal figure or a good hard resin or hard plastic, they're not great. But I have got a load of figures painted. Then, my next problem with gaming, Judge Dredd. Blimey, I'm going on. Sorry. Oh, no, it's me. I ramble. That's fine. My other problem with Judge Dredd gaming is that, first of all, in many ways, the role-playing game is a much better game, I think, than tabletop gaming. Because, you know, Dredd, if you read it, it's all about one or two judges and a bunch of guys. It's kind of episodic as well. I always worry about these games how much longevity they've got in them. How many games you're going to get out of making all this stuff. Because, you know, after you've done, it's a bit like Wild West gaming or Pirates or Wild West, when you've done a bank robbery and a jailbreak and a fight punch out in the saloon, how many other games are you going to get? With Dredd, yeah, similar kind of thing. Although there are loads of different kinds of bad guys, so who knows. But my other problem, my really big thing, and the reason why we're here, building the worlds, is that a lot of the official stuff that I've seen for building, there are some terrific, don't get me wrong, I've seen some terrific attempts at doing kind of Mega City 1 and Futuristic City kind of tables. But so many of these games look to me like they get played in your bog standard, post-apocalyptic, ash-wasty, cursed earth, ruined kind of industrial hab zone kind of like things. They look a bit more like the original RoboCop than they do Judge Dredd, you know. So crappy, half-broken industrial buildings, low-level things and whatever. One of the things about Judge Dredd is the absolute scale of the whole thing. It should be enormous. It should look enormous. So what I want to try and do is build bits of Mega City 1. I'm not going to attempt to build a Mega City block because they're a kilometre tall, 2 kilometres tall. We can't possibly put that there, so you've got to build a fraction of it. I want to build a shopping mall, a part of a shopping mall. I want to build a tween block plaza. For those of you who are not Judge Dredd aficionados, that is a large open space that connects 2 Mega City blocks. Wrecking the workshop, see, all packed in and tight. So, you know, the open spaces, and that stuff can go off there. I want bits of Megway, that's the multiple lane motorways and various other bits and pieces. So, that's what I want. And for ages and ages and ages, I've agonised over how I was going to do this. I've got old sketches that I've drawn of different bits of scenery, and then just before Christmas, or around about Christmas, I happened to be in home base. There is one across the road, well, not very far away, 5 minutes. Home base for international watchers is a... it's not really a DIY store. It's not, you know, I mean, in the UK, we've got a number of different chains, big chains that do DIY stuff. If you really want to do your own DIY, do it yourself, home improvement kind of things, most people are much better off going to B&Q or Wickes than they are going to Home Base. Home Base used to be just like B&Q. Nowadays, it's a bit crappy, but it's got other stuff. It's often got a carpet department now. There are loads of places where in there it's got a bit of a garden area, and it's got lots of seasonal stuff, and they're really hot on their storage. And yeah, it was before Christmas, but they'd already got rid of all their Christmas stuff that was already in the sale, and they'd filled up all the seasonal area with loads and loads of different storage. And I found this thing. Look at that, right? Okay, 3-drawer plastic stacking unit. Okay, actually, I bought 2 or 3 of these. It was don't need that bit. 3 drawers. Got some stuff so you can lock them together with other ones. Oops, here we go. 3-drawer unit like that. Back here. And it comes apart. Lid comes off. He says. There we are. Lid comes off. And then the 3 bits stacked down. Now, like that. There you go. There's 1 bit. That does mean if you wanted to, you could stack them up. In fact, I've got another. Let's put that one back together. Here's one I've cut out of the wrappers already. Over here. Give me this. Woohoo! So, I could actually stack that on top of that like that. And then I got 6. This gave me an idea. This one unit. Shit. I didn't want to do that. This one unit, this 3-drawer stack, gave me an idea, right? Well, a couple of ideas. First of all, I liked the overall shape. I liked the size of the drawers. I thought, wow, that's not far off. I mean, look, the only thing I've got around right now, because the others are all in a crate, is Dredd on a bike. But when we put Dredd on a bike against it, it's not a bad size. It's kind of shop size. And I thought this would work really, really well as a basis for some terrain. Especially if they stack up. And I looked at it and I stroked the beard quite a lot for a while, because I was like, wow, yeah, you know, it's not great. This stack with the 3 drawers in it, 10 quid. And there was a bit of me going, oh, 10 quid, that's quite a lot. I'm going to want 2 or 3 of these. Oh. And then I thought, oh, hang on a minute. I don't think twice about dropping 40 quid on a bunch of plastic from Games Workshop to make Necromunda scenery. I do it often, you know, ash wastes, hab units. I don't know how much they are, 40, 50 quid. Bang, I buy one of those, no worries. And that gives you one little model kind of like yay big with bits on it. You know, the if you buy the stairways and walkways for Zone Mortalis stuff for Necromunda, I'm pretty sure they're about 35 quid a box, aren't they? It's a lot of money. So I kind of figured, actually, do you know what? If I spend 40 quid and buy 4 of these stacking units, that's a lot of stuff already, and I'm part way there to making a model. So that's what I did. I bought 4. And they're going to take a little bit of work, but my plan, let's just move the bits out of the way for that one for a minute, is to make, in the first instance, a board, a shopping mall, like the ground floor. If you know Dredd 2012, the wide open shopping mall at the base of the tower, Peach Trees. I'm going to make a table board, and I want these to go around 2 or 3 of the edges. Shops in the ground floor, and then apartments in the floors above. I don't want them, I could potentially stack them right up, but I don't need to, because actually any more than that, and it'll be a massive pain in the bum from a gaming point of view. You've got to be able to lean over the top and get into the table, and I'll probably make it so one side of the table is completely open anyway, so you can play across it or whatever. But I think these would give really kind of like versatile things. So the next thought was, well, how am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to make the interior of each bit out of foamcore. That will sit in there. It'll be a unit. Just slide it in, and that will work really, really nicely. I want it so that I can stack it or unstack it in the game to get into the interiors of each part of the unit. I don't imagine that players are going to go into every single hab unit, into every apartment. But wouldn't it be cool if that was the thing? So this is going to need balconies on the first and second floor. That's the second and third floor for colonial types. Balconies out here and balconies in between to link it all together. And I'll be able to put 2 or 3 of these together with interconnecting walkways. And all of a sudden, I'll get a table really, really quick. I'm even toying with the idea of not painting the white plastic. One of the things is, because we're not entirely painting it, I mean, it could be weathered and could have bullet holes stuck in it and it could have graffiti on it, but it might not even, because I want to keep I want to get a certain amount of the comic book feel to it. So that's what we're going to have a go at doing. I'm going to make one of these in this video into a stack that's got a shop in the ground floor and then 2 sets of apartments above it, and then I'm probably not going to make a video doing all 4 because they're going to be very, very similar. The idea is in the ground floor I will have very 40k, not 40k, very Judge Dredd Mega City 1 kind of locations. I want an ugly shop, I want possibly a shop for fatties, I want a Black Atlantic tourist kind of like shop. I want a bank. It's got to have a bank. Judge Dredd, there's got to be a bank robbery at some point. So I want to have locations that would be cool in a shopping mall in a floor, a block in Mega City 1. So that is what we're going to have a go at doing. And then I'm also, he says, standing up and leaning across the workshop as he does, going to have some stuff that goes in the middle of the plaza, and I'm toying around with using one of these Ferrero Rocher boxes for turning it into a snack shack kind of thing. So this is because you can get, I mean, there are some nice laser cut kind of like foodie kind of boothy kind of things you can get for Dredd, but I want these collection models to feel a bit old school. I need to go back and do some kind of junk modelling and some foam core modelling and make a table in a proper traditional way without much in the way of 3D printing, without much in the way of XPS foam. Although, thanks to my guys, I did get bought. Can you see it? Is it in the picture? Yes, it is. Over here, Timmy's got a Prox on. And look out for foam core builds, that's going to be getting used. But this is about working with the plastic and about working with foam core to slot inside the rest of it. There will be a few issues, I should imagine. I don't think this plastic is going to be very nice for receiving glue. I'm going to have to come up with a few solutions to work around the fact that you can't glue a lot to it. I reckon super glue might work, but we'll have to see how we go. And then I'm going to be experimenting a little bit with the other stuff. I am also super aware that I spent 10 quid, I spent 40 quid actually, on these stacking towers, but I don't want to waste the other stuff. I bought them for this bit essentially. Of course, each one comes with 3 shells. Shells? These aren't shells, these are drawers. So I want to make sure these get used as well. They don't necessarily have to get used in this project, they might get used in another project. They would, in some ways, make quite good greenhouse type things, maybe for another sci-fi project, Star Wars, that kind of thing, or Stargrave, don't know. You also get little feet in a bag, which I'm not going to waste. They're going to go into a bits box because they'll make quite good kind of engine vents, I think, for spaceships. So I'm not going to waste any of this stuff, but it was a very interesting moment when I realised that actually for 40 quid I could get absolutely masses, and then I just need foam core. So what we need to do now really is have a look at how we're going to turn one of these things into a usable one of these things. Remember, this is what we're talking about. One of these things. First of all, it's the problem is if they lock together. They've got locky bits, so I need to unsort the locky bits, so they come apart easily. Because I want it to stack. I want it to come apart easy. But the nice thing is they'll lock together enough to be sturdy when on the table. But the lids need to come off, that kind of thing. And there are a couple of other issues. So let's take a closer look at one of these towers. I'm going to bring the camera over here and we can have a look, and we'll see how we're going to go about doing this. Yeah, this could be kind of cool. Alright, so here we are. I've taken the lid off this, and you can see my stack now. At the minute, this is pretty well tight locked together. I need to physically pull these apart quite hard, which of course means that's absolutely no use on the tabletop. I want to be able to just unstack them. So, because obviously the people who designed these designed them to be a little plastic shelving unit, drawer unit. They did not design them so Tim can make wargame scenery out of them, but that's what's going to happen. So, oh shit, there goes a bit. Don't even know what that was. Something fell off. So, here are our issues. They are held together by these. Let's try and get that in close. See if we can focus here. They're held together by these tiny little lugs here. That's what stops them coming apart easy. So that shouldn't be too tricky. I'm thinking that basically if I take a craft knife to that, should just be able to trim that away. Right, oh, safety, yeah, not too bad. We could just carve out that little lug, and obviously I've got to do all four, which of course you now can't see because it's behind my hand, as he sticks the craft knife into his thumb. There we go, how about that? There we go. Two. Turn it around here. On there. I'm not going to do all of these on camera like this because, you know, you get the idea. But the nice thing about that, three, and then the fourth one here. Yeah. Woohoo! Don't stick knife in thumb. Not in the first video of the year, Tim. That'll be really bad. Right, so there's my four lugs cut off. Which now means if I take another one and stick it back on the top, it now sits there. It ain't going to fall off during the game, but if I want to get into the bottom level, all I have to do is lift it off. Easy peasy. So I like that a lot. Now the next thing we've got is an issue we've got here are the drawer retainers. These raised bits here, which are going to cause a bit of a problem when I put a foam core base in there. So I'm going to cut out these four things. I'm basically going to take a pair of clippers, he says, not knowing where any of the flipping clippers are in the workshop, and I'm going to clip those out as best I can, because then a piece of foam core will just sit nicely. Hopefully, here we go. The foam core should sit nicely in the channels here, and the cool thing is this raised lip here, without measuring it, looks like it's about 5, 6, 7 millimeters. And foam core is 5 mil, so I reckon that'll go in there quite nicely. So let's have a quick butcher's at that, and then so basically clipping underneath in two places, and then I reckon I'll be able to snap that off. Yeah, there we go. Don't even have to worry too much now. I really don't think I'm going to find a use for those other bits of plastic, but you never know, they're quite a funky shape, so they might end up in the bits box, they might end up just in the bin. For neatness, I might trim bits off, but we'll see how we go. So I've got to do that for all the bits of this stack, and then we'll be ready to move on with the actual design, the foam core design of what's going to go in each bit. There we go. So I've now cut out those drawer retainers, because they aren't necessary. Bin, yeah, I know I'm going to get loads of those. So now we get to the point where if I took a piece of foam core, which I haven't got, I'll be able to slide it in. That's the next bit. So now I need to find some foam core, 5mm white foam core, and do some measuring and cut out some rectangles, start to fill these in. After I have trimmed up the other two of these, so I've got my stack that works like that, with a roof that sits on nice on the top. Okay, let's do that. Right, so what's next then? I've now, here I go, cut out my whole tower. I've cut the knobbly bits off every layer of this, and I've cut out these draw retaining parts too. So now I've got 4 separate bits to this unit, and I've done the same to 2 more. I've got 1 more that I haven't done anything to yet, but I'm going to make a start on these now. What do I need for this? Well, I need 5mm foam core. This is going to be an old school build. It's kind of cool. I'm quite excited about it. 5mm foam core. In the UK, I tend to buy this from Hobbycraft. You get 4 sheets. That's kind of, I think, A1 size. For a tenner usually, maybe 12 quid now. I don't know. It's a little while since I bought some. I've got a big stockpile. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 level at a time. Don't need to worry about the roof. The roof is quite neat. The roof, hopefully, will be able to take some details. Kind of air units, air conditioning things and bits and pieces. But like I said, I'm a bit bothered about this plastic. But if I put the air conditioners onto things like cardboard mounts and then super glue it on, that might work. Right, don't need that for a minute. What I'm going to do is have a closer look first of all at this unit. So they're a bit flimsy, to be honest, but I'm hoping by the time they're stacked up and they've got foam core in it, it won't be quite so bad. So we've got where the drawer sits on either side. We've got raised up areas here and on this side, which is about the same thickness as the foam core. Foam core will sit underneath it, so there'll be a bit of a lip. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a rectangle of foam core that's going to fit inside here, and then I'm going to take advantage of these grooves here and here and here, and I'm going to put end walls into the grooves, and then the floor bit of foam core will stick up against those, and that will be a bit that's solid in the model. So I'll end up with a floor and 2 end walls. That's mainly because in this model, the front bit here, especially on the ground floor, this is going to be shop front. It might be 2 shop fronts, but it's certainly going to be a shop front, and I don't need doors down the sides. So that's what I'm going to have a go at do first. Ooh, it's going to be a solid wall, and a base. So I need a ruler. Should I do this in old money or new money? Well, it's 6 1/8 inch in that gap there, or in new money it's 15.6 centimeters across. That's kind of cool. So 60s across, and then from the inside lip to that is 23 centimeters, 9 inches. 9 inches. Okay, so I need a 9-inch by 6 1/8 inch rectangle that I'm going to drop in there. You might push it out of shape a little bit, I'll have to see. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Take my white foam core. I need to move that out of the way for a minute because I haven't got enough room on this desk because I'm so flipping squashed in here. Nice bit of flat, mostly flat foam core. Randomly cut wobbly at this end, but I have got some square bits here, so I'm going to work off this square corner right down here. Pencil, what did I say? It's going to be 6 1/8 of an inch. In fact, as it's going to be that long, I'm going to probably cut all the way across. On this 3 marks makes a straight line, all at the same point. If I can line all them up, then I'll get a decent straight line. I know it's going to be square, and it's all going to be the same width. So. And that'll be Ludo wanting to go back in the house. Because it's late at night. Oh shit. Here he goes, says 1 straight line, which he doesn't draw. And now he has. I'm going to go and let the dog in the house. Okay, so I've cut out my rectangular base. 6 inches, 6 1/8 of an inch wide, 9 inches long. Just about right, that'll do. Now I'm going to cut 2 pieces of foam core that are going to fit into these grooves over here and here. So that's going to be wider than 6 1/4 inches. So look, that's going to be 6 1/8 even. That's going to be 6 3/4, I think, by the looks of it. And it's going to be as tall as the columns, so they don't stick out, because the roof bit is going to go on top of it. Will. So they are 3 1/4 inches tall. So I need some strips of 3 1/4 inches tall. Let's go back over here, and they are going to be wider. So 3 1/4 inches is what I want. I'm going to measure both of them off at the same time. There, 3 1/4 inches. It's going to be 6 1/2 over here. Now I'm not going to show you the making of every one of these units, I don't think, because I'm rather hoping that what's going to end up happening is that once I've done one stack, they'll be very much the same. You'll have the idea. I'm just going to bang the others out so I can get on with the war games table as quick as I can, and I can focus on other features that are going to go on this table instead. So, I mean, 2 of these side by side with a bit of platform in between, they are nearly, they're 11 inches long, so 11 inches 4 5 inches, another 11 inches. That's going to be over 2 feet of one side of shopping mall. So from that point of view, that'd be kind of cool. Right, so these are now the right height to drop into those slots, and I'll just need to make them the right width in a moment. Let's cut these out. I'll just cut it off there. Like that. Put my phone cord to one side, or down the end of the table, whichever works. And then what do we decide these were going to be? These were, we measured them up at 6 3/4 inches. Look at me with my old money. That's the square end. So on 3 marks, I'm going to draw a straight line across there, going to slice the end off, and then slice down the middle. I'll have my 2 end walls I'll be able to stick that first bit together. I want this to feel quite modular. That'd be kind of cool. The other thing I'll be able to do, of course, is stack them up if I want to make them taller. If I'm making a piece of scenery that's taller, that will also work. They'll need balconies running around the outside though. But okay. So now I have base unit. I should be able to drop that wall straight in there like that. Fantastic. Slide that over there. Drop that wall straight in there like that. Yes. And now I'll be able to get the glue. Now, eventually I will probably glue this base bit into the model, but I'm not going to do that till I decide how I'm going to paint them, because I'm toying with the idea of keeping the white plastic as is. They have graffiti on it and shop signs and details, but I can paint them. But I might keep the white because that's Mega City 1 and it should have started off fairly clean. And then for contrast, what I'm probably going to do is spray the inside bits grey and then paint them the inside of the shops and that kind of thing. But that'll be neat and would give me a contrast, but really fast to get the model on the table. Right, so there's those bits like that. What I need to do now is run a bead of glue along this side and this side, drop it in, put the walls in, stick it in place. And what I might then do is find some pins to help hold it all together as well. So this stuff, U-Who all-purpose adhesive, is what I tend to use when I'm gluing foam core. try and use it in a well ventilated space, because it does smell a little bit, but I'm A, used to the smell, B, it's bloody freezing outside tonight, so there's no way I'm opening the doors. If you can hear a hum in the background, if there's a bit of noise activity in the background, that's a heater belting heat into the room anyway, because I'm outside and it's cold. So right, drop that in the space, drop that down the slot, move that across there, make it make contact, stick it on, drop the wall in this side, exactly the same thing. It's going to sit in that slot, very nice. Find some pins, fat freaking chance, and put it all together, hold it together. Alright, so that's base stuck together. The glue's going off now, it's pinned together, hold it in place. Now, I think what I would probably do when I'm making these en masse is do this bit for each of the 3 levels together. But while I'm working this out, I'm going to do the next bit, because what I think I want to do next is have the front wall in here and the back wall in here. I'm kind of tempted to fit them to the roof, so I've got 2 bits of box, if you like. Base and side walls is one bit, and then roof and front and back walls, so I can lift them out, which means I'll be able to get access, nice access to the inside of the model. Alternatively, I could stick the front walls in front and back and just have a lift off roof. Either would work, I would imagine, in these circumstances. I suppose if I stick the back in permanently, what that would give me was the ability to model the shop more. So with this one, let's try that. Let's try and cut a rectangle that's going to fit in the back, so it sits, I think with this model, well, the choices are so it sits right across this bit here, covers up the gap, sits in the middle, and if I do that, the roof then I'll have to stick in out a little bit, or so it runs between the ends of these columns, and then the roof will just sit on top of that. But then I've got this groove here. I need to think about that for a minute. Okay, so now I did fuck up. I did take this wall and stick it in here originally, because I thought, oh, I'll stick them in and then I'll just have a roof line flat. Problem with that is the fact that if I do that, that knackers my painting plan, which at the moment is paint the foam core separately and spray it. If we do that, if I stick this to that, I won't be able to do that, which is why I'm now making separate roofs. So look, I've got this far. Back wall stuck to roof, which sits in there like that. And this is the front wall, which is going to also stick to roof, which means I can lift out the roof and I'll have the inside. So this is going to be a store, going to be a shop of some description. And I haven't decided quite yet what it's going to be, but I want a big glass window and then a door. Now the door, for this particular one, I think I'm going to use I've got a big double door from Mantic. There are round top ones and these kind of like ones with the edges cut off. I quite like that. That'll be quite an interesting shape. To be quite honest, cutting the foam core to fit that perfectly nice round top one's going to be more of a pain in the arse than cutting straight lines. So I'm thinking of having big double door and then a great big window, which is going to be plexiglass. So I'm going to cut out an enormous rectangle here. So first of all, I'm going to work in the double door. That's going to be one side like that. I'll have to have a ponder and think about what I want this business to be. So I'm going to cut in first the base of it. Going to cut that out, then I'm going to lay the door into my wall shape to get the rest of the shape of the wall of the door, so I can cut that out, fit that. That will stick in permanently. I I could actually have it so I suppose that it just slots in, and when the door opens I could just pop it out, but in some ways I'm not really bothered. I think I normally do that, but it might be quite nice just to have the door permanently fixed in the model. So cut that slot out where this bit goes, lie that into the model, draw around it, cut out the rest of the door shape, so the door then can be stuck in. There we go, so there's my door shape in there. Take my knife blade, try and stay inside the line so I don't make the hole bigger than it needs to be. There's my door shape cut out. The door's going to slot in there like that. Very nice. Then I'm going to have a big rectangular window, bigger than the door, taller than the door, I think. Which is going to be plastic glass kind of thing. Now I have a cunning idea for that as well. Because on a lot of models, my fantasy models and things, I'll just cut windows out and don't do any glazing. But I want to glaze these models because apart from anything else, what I want to do is I want to have the windows sign written. I want signs on the windows like a modern shop would have. Certainly like a shop would have in the 23rd century. So they need to be glazed. And then I had a cunning plan, because it's like, well, where are you going to get the glazing from? And the simple answer to that is I've already got the glazing. I'll get to that in a moment. So couple of cuts to go through the foam core, and that way it doesn't tear out the bottom bit. So my first cut through the top layer of cardboard and the foam, but not the bottom layer of cardboard, which I'm now cutting out there. Okay, so there's my shop window. Cut that out. That is going to be placed here. That then is the ground floor. So I'm going to run a bead of glue. Across the top here. Pop that in there, glue that against that like that. Get some dressmaking pins to hold it all in place. Now what I've got effectively is the building in two parts, end walls and floor stuck together, and then roof, front and back walls stuck together. Kind of cool. That very neatly makes a building up. Now what I have got, I'm probably going to drop, because I've got space it will fit in there, a bit of a cardboard trim around here so it lifts up. Otherwise when I put the end on, you can see in the end there, which is a bit poo. So I'm going to get a bit poo. do. How very professional of it. Looks a bit rubbish. Don't like this bit here. Got a gap there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the right width foam core. Cut some strips that are about 10 millimeters tall, which will stick up over the top, come to the top there, and also cover up the end wall here, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of what we're going to do there. It will really help to hold the whole thing in place. So, okay, so now I've got, you can see I've put those bits over the end there. Can't see that gap in the same way. That's the first floor done. You can take a door in there, which is nice. I think I probably will just stick that in permanently. That will look pretty cool. And then this shop is going to need a plexiglass window. Now I thought about that because I've spent all this money, 10 quid on each one of these things here, and I've got these. So what I'm thinking of doing is cutting out a panel here, which is going to fit across the back, or fit in there and become my window. Cunning, eh? And then that way there, I'm going to have doorway, which is fine, and a big window, which I can then sign right on, which will be quite neat. So I'm going to cut up the plastic. In fact, I've got one strip that I've cut already, look. There we go, that's cut out of one of these. And that way, even if, let's take that off there for a moment. I don't even have to try and fit it in, I don't think. Let's just take this roof bit out. Come along, which is in there good and tight, which is fine. I'm quite happy for it to be fairly tight. Of course, it will get tighter when it's painted. But I can actually stick that behind, and that's going to give me a plastic window, which I can then paint it, which is cool. And that will get stuck on the inside of that, not that one because it's too big, doesn't fit. But that'll work quite well. And then I've got a plastic window there. Now, what I haven't done is I haven't put a door in the back of this shop, which I don't necessarily need to, really, to be quite honest. Although having a back exit in these stores will be quite cool. So, but that fits in there quite nicely. That door goes in there, and then I'm going to stack that up. Now, the next 2 floors are going to be apartments. They don't need to be as big as a shop. So what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it exactly the same way. I'm going to fill it with a foam core floor and end walls, and then we'll have this up and over flats thing. That made a lot of sense. Yeah, roof front and back. Again, what I'm going to do is I'll have, but I think I'm going to make this into 2 flats, which will have then a door and a window and a door and a window. The windows, I might put plexiglass in them, but I might also just put shutters over the top, metallic kind of slatted shutters that roll down over the front windows there, and they're solid. I'm not going to show you the drawing and cutting out process because it's going to be exactly the same, apart from for the front wall where I'm going to have to cut doors in. But having seen me cut the doors in for this one, you know how that works. So next time you see this, hopefully I'll have a flat cut out. Show you what I mean. Okay, so this is the next floor up. Look, I've put in my bloody dog hair everywhere. I'm bloody a soaker. I've put in my floor. I've put in an end wall on either side. I've also put in a divider. The divider's not quite the same height as the end walls, but it all does the trick, which is fine. Although I've just noticed that this is, oh, it's not bad. I've then also, this is my back wall and roof. The back wall and roof sits in here. Again, that's kind of cool. So now we're at the point where, sort of front door. Now we're getting there. And this is the front wall that I've just cut out, which has got doors and windows, and these are Mantic smaller doors. Let's just force those in there. There aren't windows that go with them, but these are the doors. Whoops. They'll fit in. I'm definitely going to just stick these into the model. I'm not going to mess around having these take outable. In fact, let's do that now. I'm going to run a bead of glue around the inside of each of these, stick the doors in. Like I said, I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do the windows yet. There could be plexiglass. If they're plexiglass though, that means you're going to be able to look inside the building. Although if they're plexiglass, I could get all fancy schmancy and put LEDs inside the building, and then they could be lit up. That would look kind of cool. So who knows? Right, put my door. Stick the door in there. Stick that door in there. Slightly different designs on each door. Doesn't matter. Oh, they're the same height and same size, and that's going to fit in that gap like that. And the doors sit there. Now we're in business. Now what I obviously am going to have to do is have some kind of walkway outside, and how that gets stuck on is going to be interesting, because again I'm not entirely sure how well, what I haven't experimented with so far is how well I can stick stuff to the plastic. The all of these bits of foam core at the minute are sitting tight inside the plastic. They're not actually stuck to it. So look, I'm going to stick that in there like that, because that's the last thing I'm doing tonight. I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to stick a couple of pins in there to hold that in place. Now, starting to look pretty cool. This definitely needs platforms outside, balconies with walls and bits and pieces overhanging over the hanging shops. They need to be at least that kind of wide, if not wider. How wide is that? Is that 2 inches wide? That's not 2 inches wide. Yeah, I want it to be at least 50 millimeters wide. It needs a decent balcony overhanging. That's nearly 2.5 inches wide. That would be kind of cool. Going across the front there so that people step into. Yeah. And then that means they're going to need elevators and lifts, or escalators or staircases on this model as well, which would be quite cool, because again that gives different opportunities for bits of scenery and charging around and the rest of it. So now the third level is going to sit on top like that, which is pretty neat. Where's my lid? There's a lid. Got to be a lid around here somewhere. Yeehaw! So I'm going to make another layer in here, exactly the same, and then with this next set, with the next shelf unit, drawer unit, I'm going to do exactly the same again. Not exactly the same, there'll be a bit of variation. I could either have it so they stand side by side like that, or I'll be able to have it so, oh, let's get another one here. Have it so there's a bit of a gap in between. In fact, if there's a bit of a gap in between, that might be kind of cool, because I can have them pathways down the front and pathways that go in between. Gives you more gaming options as well. And then of course the next level is going to need balconies as well, which is kind of neat. I'm liking this. But that there, across that frontage there, at the minute that gap is about 3 inches there. If I made it 4 inches, nice playable space. Bit of an input, that's kind of like that. So that now is 11 there, that'll be 4, 15, another 11 there will be 25. So that stretch there is over 2 foot long. If I had another one going this way, I'd have 2 big sides of a mall. That'll be give me a good decent size table straight away. Bits in the middle, shops, stuff. Yeah, this is already starting to take shape. Really very cool. I am really going to have to go back to home base and see if they've got any more of these things. I bloody hope they have. Otherwise, this is going to be a little project. I've got 4 of these drawer units. I could do with some more, really, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway, I'm jacking in for the night now because I don't know what time it is. Hang on a minute. It's a Friday night. It's 1:15 in the morning. Saturday, 6th of January. Go to bed. Do some more tomorrow, I hope. Hey. No. So far then I've cut out an awful lot of foam core, because I've not only made done this one so far, I've also been cutting out loads to go in the other towers. So I really am quite enjoying making these, or putting the ideas together. It's kind of like coming on quite nicely. I'm pretty pleased with this as a kind of concept. So much so that I went back to Homebase, the store where I got the drawer unit from, see if I could get some more, because I bought 4 and I didn't think that was enough. They bloody sold out because they're Homebase, and Homebase are a bit like that. They kind of get a thing and then it's gone. So I went to a branch in Basildon, which is kind of, I don't know, 6-7 miles away. Unfortunately, I had a bunch more, so I bought some more. So I've got more of these things. So I think I've got 6 or 8 of them now, or maybe 9. So I could do 2. They'll make through like 3 sides of a 2 or 3 foot board, I hope. That's the idea. 3 of them stack nicely in a really useful crate as well, which is really kind of cool. So let's just tilt this camera down here a bit and we'll have a look at the thing on the workbench. I haven't made you agonise over every single piece of foam core that I've cut out, but what we've got effectively is the lid that comes off, and of course I could stack other units on top of this if I want to. It could go higher, but I don't think I'll need to. It'll just get in the way of playing the game. And then, so this is we've got the ground floor shop. In this case, this one in my mind is a bank. Then on this particular stack, I've got 2 layers of apartments, and what I've done is I've put a divider in the middle, because I'm imagining that the apartments are only half the size of one of these things. I think I've got some furniture orders, some resin furniture orders from one company or another, can't remember which. I've done put doors into the front of the apartments. These are terrain crate sci-fi doors, and I've cut in windows that I've put cardboard trim in and then put in a kind of like a closed shutter on both of these levels. You can look in through the odd window, but you can't see much, and they're completely empty. My plan is to have closed doors and closed shutters, because most of the time you're not going to need to go in these things, and I think what I'm probably going to end up with is 1 layout or maybe 2 layouts for apartments that you could possibly pull out and drop around and put wherever you need, if you do ever actually need to have judges go into an apartment. So I've got 1 floor of apartments here like that. It's quite neat. I mean, the fact in the end is that if you wanted to make a whole load of low-rise kind of terrain, you could use these really quickly. They work really, really well. I really love this straight upright kind of like corners. It's going to be super neat, and it stacks really well. So I've got that one. I've got this one here. It doesn't matter which way around they go, and they stack, which is kind of neat. I like that. And then I've got the bank on the bottom. Now the bank on the bottom, this one is going to have, as we looked at before, plastic glass in the windows and in the doorway. In fact, I've been messing around with various bits of bought terrain pieces from Terrain Crate and from Crooked Dice and a couple of other companies. I think don't spring to mind right now, but basically I'm going to equip the ground floor of this as a bank. Most of it will be fairly open. It's going to be a bit weird because, you know, banks, when 2000 AD started, I don't think they had an idea what a modern bank was going to look like, and now a modern bank of course has got very few kind of like people in it. It's mostly teller machines and the rest of it, but I still like the idea of having a bank in a mega city block, having staff and having the odd teller, actual member staff who could be held up at gunpoint, because this has got to become the kind of like location for a bank robbery. It could probably do with, mind you, a back door if that's the case, if nothing else, so bank robbers have got the opportunity to go elsewhere, because otherwise, or a side door, because at the minute there's no way they're getting out, or maybe a door down into a vault underneath. The bank could always be on the first floor, I suppose. But there's my bank. I've already made the front of these. I'm not going to make a video for each new stack that I make for this. They're just going to appear in other things, otherwise you're just going to get so much of a muchness. especially as a lot of the first floors, they're all going to be the same. That's the whole point. It looks like a city block, so there's going to be apartment after apartment. The ground floor, there will be different shops. There's going to be an ugly emporium, I think, somewhere. For those of you who don't know, 2000 AD, do your research, all right? Uglies, people who buy Otto Sump's products and make themselves particularly ugly. So there'll be an ugly store, maybe. I like the idea of having a shuggy hall where the local criminals hang out and play shuggy. Again, if you don't know 2000 AD, then dear oh dear oh dear, where have you been? Well, shuggy is a Mega City 1 version of billiards or pool, if you like. I was thinking of having 2 floors. I'm going to make a cinema, a hollow flicks across 2 floors with an entry, and then a detail, a kind of like the inside of the cinema on one of these with sets of stairs and a big screen. The possibilities actually are endless. Well, they're not endless. It depends on how many of these stacks of these plastic things I can get. But as I've got 8 or 9, and each module is going to be replaceable and interchangeable, that's going to give me tons and tons and tons of playability. Loads of room for scenarios. Right, so now, there are a couple of other issues, of course. Let's just put this back the right way around. And one of those issues is that the doors open out and there's nowhere for people to stand. Here's a Mega City 1 tube. I don't know whether he's... Wait a minute, he's metal. This is a mongoose one as opposed to a rebellion one, but yeah, standing out there, he's just going to fall out. So the other thing I've started to work on are platforms, the balconies that are going to go out the front here. Now these the minute again are still just 5mm foam core. They're going to need some texturing, so I'm probably going to put some cardboard walkways down here. Cardboard back to all of that, because my plan is to glue that hopefully across the front. It's 11 inches wide, which is the width of the unit, and that's going to go across the front because I'm making some other bits that are going to go in these gaps that will come in between units. So I'll either make it so the blocks sit absolutely side by side, because they can be pretty much flush, which is kind of cool. Thus, and I'm going to have it so I'm going to have walkways going from one and they'll be right next to another one. They should hopefully butt up with each other, or to spread them out a little bit and to make the block a little bit more interesting, give me more playability. I'll have gaps in between with joining walkways, so that there you've got archways and side corridors and all kinds of other bits and pieces where you can have more scatter terrain, and where a scenario could spread out and go in different directions. I think that will be, and it will also make these spread out better across a table, which will be very handy, because in that way I don't have to make tons and tons and tons. And as you can see, I haven't got very far with these. These are all just loose bits of foam core. I'll just cut out loads at the same time. But any more than this, 3 heights, 3 stories, it's just going to get in the way when you're trying to play around it, I think. But I think this will be pretty cool. This is going to give me my shopping precinct and my apartments, and start to give me a real feel for the inside. Remember, the inside of a Mega City block. They're pretty whimsical. Get in. Happy New Year. Have a drink. The Mega City 1 blocks of Mega City 1 are pretty whimsical kind of things. So from that point of view, yeah, you need that feel. I want to be playing inside a block. The judges arrive at the entrance to a block. They get off their bikes and they go into the block, just like in the 2012 film Dredd. The action happens inside the block, but I want to have that kind of feel of a shopping mall and inside a tower block all in one. So I'm really pleased with this progress. The next thing I'm going to do, and I reckon I'm probably going to get it all in one video, to be honest, or certainly we'll see how we go. The next thing I'm going to do, what I've done is I've made sure that the actual foam core inserts, although they're in 2 pieces, 1, and I've only got doors and windows in the front. I haven't put anything in the backs. I'm assuming that the backs of these are still in part of the block. I could put windows in the back. It might give me a bit of a bit more variation. I might go back and retrofit windows, because then I could possibly have things back to back and with walkways in between, and there'll be windows in bedrooms and stuff, I suppose. But at the moment I haven't. But so there's one bit there, and then this bit also comes out, because my plan, there's an awful lot of paint to do here. My plan is to spray these either with I'm going to experiment. I'm either going to use Halford's grey primer, or they're kind of like rusty red primer, and then I'm going to have at the minute, that's most of the paint job going to be done just with spray. I'm going to spray the foam core, and then I'm aiming at the moment to leave the plastic unpainted, because then I might get a nice easy paint contrast. I'm going to try it with one tower block. We'll get to the end, I'm going to paint that one, and then in the comments you can tell me down below whether you think I need to do anything to the white plastic or whether I leave it as it is. I was thinking of putting graffiti on some bits and pieces, but I quite like this kind of like finish, but all of this bit here, cover up all my paint, my lines and various other things, definitely needs a paint job. I'll paint the walkways separately as well. They'll be the same colour as the building itself, so that way then I could just stick them on, otherwise I won't be able to paint and undercoat them. But I think that'll look pretty cool. And then this way here, this dude here has got you know, somewhere to stand when he steps outside the apartment, which kind of like works really well. So that's the plan thus far. We're doing really well. So the next job is to take the inserts, the shop, the bank, and the two apartments, and go spray them, and then we'll see what it looks like. Exciting, isn't it? I'm finally making Judge Dredd stuff, and it's going to have all the right amount of whimsy. I'm sorry if you're new to my channel and you don't know why I get excited about using the W word, then I have two things to say to you. Well, number one, where the hell have you been? I know this is my first Judge Dredd thing, and you might only come to me for Judge Dredd, but you could have watched the Necromunda and the B&B and everything else. And secondly, if you don't know about the whimsy thing, well, said it again. It's very simple. I have a drinking game. I can't remember where it came from. But anyway, the drinking game came about because I tend to use the W word quite a lot. Either in the form with the Y on the end, or the form where it's got ickle on the end. So and the whole point is whenever I say the word whimsy or whimsical, you have a drink. Now, you can make this an alcoholic drink if you like. If you don't, there's not much point in playing, really, to be quite honest. But every time the W word is mentioned, then you have to have a drink. It means that you can watch my videos, which takes some time, and if you are that way inclined, then you can have a jolly good time as well with your favourite tipple whilst watching one of my videos. And whoever invented Dry January, sod it. If you want to give up drinking, do it whenever the hell you like during the year, and don't punish pub owners and people who own small off licences and that kind of thing in January. It's hard enough as it is. Just keep doing the stuff. I'm not into Dry January, vegan February, March, November-y, blah-de-blah, but just do it whenever you want to during the year, you know. Buy flowers for your missus whenever you fancy, don't leave it till Valentine's Day, and all that cobblers. Where was I? Oh yeah, whimsy. Have another drink. Okay, so I'm now going out to the garage to spray these models. I'll see you in a minute. Right, so a moment ago I said I'm going to go in the garage and spray bits grey, and now, by the magic of video, not only have I sprayed things grey, I painted the entire model. I'll jump right to the end for a couple of reasons. First of all, by this point in this video we must have got about an hour and 15 minutes in. It's taken quite a long time, and in fact this is probably my longest video I've ever made, which is quite impressive considering it's quite a simple thing. I'd probably put it down to the long ramble about Judge Dredd at the beginning, I suppose. Secondly, I didn't think anybody really wanted to sit and watch me moan, complain and swear about painting another piece of scenery. So I'm going to tell you what I did, and I'll show you what I did, and then that way it worked out fine. I did take the 6 bits, the bits that slot into it, spray it all with... No, that's not the right can. This stuff, Halford's Grey Primer.
and I painted all that, and I also did the same to the walkways. I'll show you the results in a minute. I slotted that all into my white plastic, and remember my original plan being not to paint the white plastic, and I decided that it all just looked too flat and the white plastic looked far too new and too plastic. So I gave everything a quick once over with a Adeptus Mechanicus. I think it's Adeptus Mechanicus. I'd be really slick if I knew the names of all this shit, but I don't. Yeah, no, it's Administratum Grey. I dry brushed all the sprayed grey with Administratum Grey, and then I actually applied some dry brushed weathering Administratum Grey to the tower itself. I painted the doors of the apartments different colours, painted the shutters. They're all kind of like Morghast brown with kind of ink washes on the bits and pieces, and I added some graffiti. Some of the graffiti I painted myself. Fans of Judge Dredd will recognise one bit of must-have graffiti straight away. Other bits of graffiti I added courtesy of Debris for War. Debris for War make these cool water slide decals, all graffiti decals. I added these. These are kind of like neat. I bought these £5 for a sheet. I bought them at Selwick in the autumn last year. I'll definitely get some more of these. They're kind of like they're much better graffiti than I could produce. They look pretty cool, so I'm going to use more of these around about the place. Graffiti is a tricky one, of course, in 2000 AD, because it is very much a punishable crime, but I imagine there's a certain amount of it around. In the bank down the bottom, I put the plexiglass sheet in the back that goes over the door and the a window, and what I've done for the moment is I've on a laptop I've produced a Sciences Barcloids, which is the name of my bank, and I've cut that roughly and stuck that into the window in the back. But what I'm actually going to do is going to get my very clever wife, who has a cut, you know, those kind of like decal making things, to make me the decals that I'm going to stick on the windows, and we'll cut that out. But that's not done yet, so I want to get this video done. Along with that, I've also painted some scenery, some kind of like scatter stuff to go inside the bank down below, from a couple of different companies. Let me just find a bit of it. Take the top off. Here's the apartments. I'll show you all properly in a minute. The stuff going into the bank is either Mantic terrain crate stuff, little desks, counters that I'm going to have out of bank teller standing behind, I think, made out of that wonky Mantic plastic. Look at that, the legs are bloody bent in and all the rest of it. It's just a bit weird. Then some, I think these are Mantic as well. Mantic, so when this plastic that Mantic use, if they make thin stuff like tabletops and legs, it all gets a bit bendy and warpy, and again, when they make a solid thing like an ATM machine, that's alright. I'm also adding some kind of cooler bits of furniture from Crooked Dice. They make some really cool stuff, mainly for their 7 TV range, where they come up, which is very pulpy, including this really cool executive desk. I've got to finish painting some of the details on it, but this is going to be the bank manager's desk. Is sat there, really nice cast bit of resin there, with a keyboard on it, a little monitor in there, and bits and pieces, and donuts and a cup of coffee. Nice sitting on there. That's for the bank manager to sit with. And then I can't remember what this particular computer panel is from Crooked Dice. I think that's like power station controls or something like that, but it's quite a nice little thing that will look pretty cool in the back of the bank as well. So those are going to go in the ground floor in the bank, so there's some scatter terrain for characters to be able to hide behind when it all goes horribly wrong, when the judges turn up, when the bank's being robbed. There are no interior details in the apartments. I'm thinking of making a couple of drop-in modules that I could drop into an apartment in one place or another to match where the doors go, and then that way, if at any point the judges do actually enter an apartment, I can put an apartment in there. But on the whole, they're completely blank, because it's just excessive amounts of model making, doll's housing we tend to call it, where I don't need to do it, because nobody's going to go in there. It will be a massive wasted effort. The cool thing about making this stuff is that hopefully it's going to be pretty quick. Let's have a quick look. Let's bring the camera over here, and I'll show you what I have managed to do. I'm pretty pleased with it, actually, I've got to say. helped by the fact that I've got figures on here painted by the Meister, which means that it already looks very Judge Dredd. So come over here, check it out. I am of course hampered being in this really tight space. I haven't got room to get out, you know, lazy Susans or anything else, and there's no table to put this on yet. So from that point of view, this is what we got. So apologies that you've got my crapped up work desk and my little mobile workstation that gets taken into the living room, but here is my first of these blocks. So as you can see, Judge and civilians. I don't even know who they're by. Hang on. That's a metal Judge. That could be one of the Mongoose Judges, I think. Although with that pistol, I think that's a Wargames Foundry Judge Dredd, which is quite nice. And then block war kind of civilians. And no, that's also plastic. That's one of the current Mongoose ones as well. Pretty nice. I like that. You can see those. So two different apartments. I could take the lid off fairly easily. There we go. Look, with one hand, pop it off. And then there's the unit underneath that could come out, but there's no point, there's nothing in there. But going down, next layer down, here we've got a metal Juve from the old Mongoose block figures, and an old boy in his wheelchair, and one of the current Judges. And again, look, here we've got this nice graffiti from Debris of War, as opposed to my ubiquitous 2000 ED-esque graffiti there. But I think this looks really, really effective. And then downstairs, Barclay's Bank. This is what I was talking about. I've cut this out and put that in there to show you what it's going to look like, but that will end up being pre-cut. And the plastic then, the plastic glass enables some viewing in, but not loads and loads and loads. But there it is. There's my first unit. One of the things I'm definitely enjoying about this then is actually the potential speed that I can produce these at. If I wasn't making videos, I'd get them done a lot quicker. But I've got two blocks like this with shop front down the bottom down here. You can't see that, but down here already cut out, and I could put stuff in there. I'm making two more apartment sections. They've already got walls and floor, and in fact I've got to just make up and overs and put the apartments in no time at all. I'll have well, that's well over 2 feet of apartment on one side. Now if I do that again and it went over here, I'd have a really good looking side to a shopping precinct. I've got to come up with maybe better solutions for the walkways, because at the minute they're stuck onto the front of the model. They went on really well actually onto that plastic. I made sure that the back of the foam core had just a cardboard strip on it, and I just used regular Yoo-hoo glue to stick it on. Problem is that's going to affect how well they store in really useful crates. I am thinking of having raised up plazas at one end of the mall, wider than this. This is 5 centimetres, 50 millimetres across there, so you can get two figures pretty much on the walkway. I'm thinking of having a slightly bigger raised up plaza to go down one end. That will need pillars to hold it up and various other bits and pieces. That will give a number of layers of play. But yeah, it's coming on real quick. I've got I bought loads. I said earlier in the video I went and found some more, and then my local home base has gone back in stock. So they really, really are worth checking out. I've got, I think, at least 8 of these stacks. 8? 6, 8, I don't know, 6, definitely 6, possibly 8. Which means I'll be able to do in no time a large bit of table. I'm not going to do a video for every single set of 3 that I produce. That would just be daft, because you're going to see pretty much all the same thing. So when I've made a couple more, I'll give you a kind of like a tour around what I've made and show you what I've got. I've got to write down all the ideas for the different shops and things I want in there, and bits and pieces, and how I solve my walkway solutions. But this walkway looks pretty neat. I'm kind of pleased with it. It's kind of cool, and would certainly give plenty of let's turn that over there. This walkway is pretty neat. It certainly gives playable space and that kind of thing. Might not all line up really beautifully when it's all done, because it's all made separately, and there might be the odd kind of like bit that's out, but that doesn't matter too much, not a fact. I'm trying to build this scenery fairly cheaply, he said, having spent a shed load of money on plastic towels, and quickly. I want to get this game on the table so I could be playing it. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm just going to swap these back out now. I'm going to take that there, that's the one I haven't painted. I like the fact that I could, if I want, stack them up and make them higher. I like the fact that if I wanted, I could take individual units, or even without a roof, and I could use them for games like Stargrave. They'll make a perfectly good set of science fiction low-rise buildings in other sci-fi games, which is something I'm really pleased about. So this, although it's very much designed with Judge Dredd and 2000 AD in mind, the fact that I can use it for any other sci-fi game makes it very flexible kind of scenery. So I can't wait to get more of this done, he says, precariously piling some of that up over there. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll lift it up, put one of these units underneath it, and then it will sit higher on the screen. And the fact that it's kind of modular and I can stack it, and if I wanted, with the 6 or the 8 I've got, I could certainly have 3 side by side and then double the height. It will be awesome. You can play this really cool vertical game. It would need staircases and things around it, but yeah, it's quite neat. I like it. It's just simple enough, but it works. I think it's very effective. So I'm very happy with that. If you like it, and you think, or you can think of ways I can improve it, leave comments down below, please. Do make sure that you share this around. If you're new to my videos, this is the first Judge Dredd video I've made, so I am going to make more. My next video is going to be a Judge Dredd video. I'm going to make a food shack to go in the middle of the shopping precinct. If you like what I've done with these towers, then let me know. Give us a like and make a comment down below. If you found cool towers from somewhere else that's different, if you're watching this across the pond in the States or somewhere else, and obviously you don't have home base, and but you do have found a suitable supplier of this kind of cheapo plastic draw unit kind of thing that we could use, people in your neck of the woods could use to make for these models, please do also put those kind of like suggestions, comments and links down below as well. That would be really useful. If you're not a subscriber to Magrathea Builder Worlds, please do subscribe. If you want to support this channel more, you can of course support it at patreon.com/Magrathea Builder Worlds. That's patreon.com/Magrathea Builder Worlds, where you can support this channel by signing up to it, and for the price of a cup of coffee every month, you possibly stand a good chance of winning a piece of scenery made by me, which is pretty neat. But anyway, yeah, so thank you very much for watching Magrathea Builder Worlds on this occasion. I'm glad that it's only 2 weeks into 2024 and we're up and running with a video already. There's going to be another one along fairly soon, and actually what I'm more excited about, like I said, is the fact that I'm going to be able to get a bunch of this scenery made really quick and on a table, and actually get playing Judge Dredd after about 2 or 3 years, or God, even more of that, of having all the figures. And now, thanks to Ookmeister, I've got painting models, and now I'm going to have the terrain done in the next 4 or 6 weeks. Even in this crappy situation I'm in at the moment with workshops all over the place, I'm determined to get this done so I can get rolling some dice and play this really great game. So, thank you very much for watching Magrathea Builder Worlds. I shall see you next time. Drock! I am the law! I am the law! I am the law! Put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply. I am the law. That kind of thing. Yeah. Drock it. Cue Anthrax songs. Oh, I never said actually, did I? The other thing that I'm into, of course, about Judge Dredd, if you don't know, is the fact that I'm a judge. I am Judge Yeti in the British Judge Dredd scene. This is me in my Judge Dredd kit. What did you say, perp? That's 5 years in the ISO cube for that. See you next time. Pew 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 pew.